Hey guys, Tommy with Studio Sense here. Hope you're having a great day. You know, the seasons are going to be changing soon, but we're still in the midst of a very high heat summer. I'm actually in Tennessee, USA, the upper eastern part of Tennessee, and it's super hot here, and the humidity reminds me of Mobile, Alabama, or Miami, Florida, any of those coastal areas that usually have really high humidity and high heat. So today I'm going to be talking about more summer fragrances, and in particular Hugo Boss Canteen-Style fragrances. Now, if you're not familiar with the Hugo Boss Canteen-Style, that's this particular style. Not going to go into the history of the military OD canteen, but that's basically what it's styled after. About 10 or 12 of these Canteen-Style fragrances, and every now and then when a new edition comes along, I'll do a re-up on the top 5 to verify what are the 5 best Canteen-Style fragrances from Hugo Boss. So when we return, we'll have that and more coming your way, so stay tuned. Welcome back, everyone. So today I'm taking a quick look at the lineup of Hugo Boss Canteen-Style fragrances. Now recently I talked about my 3 favorite of the Canteen-Style fragrances, and that's in this particular style here. But there has been a new addition to the Hugo Man fragrance line, and so that calls for a new look at the lineup. So today I'm going to give you my top 5 fragrances in the Hugo Boss Canteen-Style fragrance line, otherwise known as Hugo Man. So we're going to start with the number 5 fragrance, and we're going to move our way down to the number 1 Hugo Boss Canteen-Style fragrance for summer. Now keep in mind that's a very important distinction. These are summer fragrances, so you might be surprised at what's number 1 and what's number 5, but just keeping in mind these are specifically for summer and specifically for high humidity and high heat. Having said that, coming in at number 5 is Hugo Reversed. Hugo Reversed normally makes number 1 in my Canteen-Style list, but there's a specific reason why I'm not selecting this one as number 1. Because again, the distinction is these are summer fragrances. This is a top 5 summer list. That doesn't necessarily mean that Hugo Reversed isn't a great summertime fragrance. I highly recommend wearing it in spring and summer, but the performance of this fragrance in comparison with some of these others isn't quite as sporty, citrusy, fresh as what I've selected for the top 4, but it's still very good. This one opens with Calabrian bergamot and grapefruit. It's got a bit of rosemary and something called pamplewood, which is, again, as I mentioned, is just a bright, fresh, woody style aroma chemical, and in the base, vetiver. Now you'll notice that most of these fragrances have very similar notes in them. They all follow in line with the original Hugo Man. Now if this were a top 5 list of just best overall general low-end fragrances from Hugo Boss, this would be in a much higher position. As it stands though, for summertime fragrances in the Canteen-Style, it's my number 5. Coming in at number 4 is a very pleasant Hugo Boss Canteen-Style fragrance, and I really enjoy this one. Similar to Hugo Reversed, it's a great all-around general use fragrance, but in summer, it has some particular ingredients that make it shine, and that is Hugo Boss Urban Journey. Urban Journey is easily distinguishable from the other fragrances because it's got kind of a graphite spray texture kind of bottle or presentation. Looks really good, feels kind of cool in your hand, looks great on the shelf. It opens with wildflower, orange, and cardamom. You've got a heart of black tea and cascalone. Cascalone is just an aquatic aroma chemical. You've got a trio of guaiac wood, sandalwood, and oak moss in the base. This is, again, similar to Hugo Reversed. It's a great all-around general use fragrance, but because of that floral cardamom open, that aquatic heart, it really does come across as a fresh summertime, a little brighter summertime fragrance than does Hugo Reversed, and that's why it's number 4. All right, guys, coming in as number 3 in the Hugo Boss Hugo Man Canteen-Style bottle is Hugo Iced. Hugo Iced, just like the name implies, is a very fresh, refreshing, almost mojito style fragrance because it does contain mint. It's got that very mint tea, fresh, iced kind of feeling or sensation when you spray it on, and it lasts pretty decently long. For a freshie, it performs relatively well, and it specifically shines in high heat because high heat bolsters any fragrance and gives it an additional minimum hour worth of additional sillage. Very simply, you're getting mint, tea, and vetiver, and that's why I say it's more of a mojito style fragrance. Very easily depicted by the tea, the mint, and the casual vetiver in the base. Great general use fragrance, but perfect for those high heat situations, and as refreshing as a mojito. Hugo Iced, coming in at number 3. All right, we're down to our top 2 Canteen-Style Hugo Man fragrances. Coming in at number 2, I guess this is an easy pick simply because it is the only aquatic. It's the only true aquatic, I should say, in the Hugo Man style, and that is Hugo Now. Hugo Now, when it first came out at the retail, it wasn't really worth the retail cost. It's a midline fragrance at best, and you're paying, top retail price for it. But when it came down in price, and where it's at now is exactly where it needs to be and is a great deal. Similar to Urban Journey, this one has cardamom in the open, but it also has a great bit of lemon zest that gives it a very fresh, zesty appeal. Also similar to Urban Journey and Hugo Ice, this has mint in the heart as well as lavender. Good bit of lavender, and something called Aquazone, which is similar to Cascalone, basically just an aquatic aroma chemical to kind of mimic like a sea breeze, a light salty sea breeze effect. And in the base, just like all of them, Haitian vetiver. Vetiver's the base, maybe even patchouli, but there's no published patchouli note in this. I compare Hugo Now to pretty much any aquatic fragrance, similar to Dolce & Gabbana Light Blue, Eau Intense. Not quite as intense as that. Similar to, but not as good of a quality as Bulgari Aqua Atlantique. So really any kind of aquatic fragrance that's a fresh sea breeze, lightly salty, without the brine, that's what Hugo Now is like. And that's why it comes in as my number 2 summertime Canteen-Style Hugo Man fragrance. All right, guys, we're down to our number 1 Canteen-Style Hugo Man fragrance, which also happens to be the brand new release that was released for 2022. It is Hugo Man Reflective Edition. Not only do I really like the bottle because of its reflective nature, it just looks really cool. It also looks and feels cool to the touch, which is a great summertime kind of accoutrement for the presentation, but it also happens to smell fantastic in the arena of high heat, sporty type, very zesty fragrances. And I'll tell you why, because they did something smart with this. So let's talk a little bit about the notes that make up the reflective edition of Hugo Man. In the top, you get citrus fruits. There's also eucalyptus and a good bit of mint. In the heart, you get violet leaf. You also get cypress and nashi pear. And it rests on a base of vetiver and ambergris or ambroxan. So you kind of see what they did smart here in terms of, normally in sport fragrances you get something that's just a poof. It's a really powerful, effective, zesty citrus in your face and some form of maybe synthetic fresh soapiness, and then it's gone. Because it's designed to be temporary, give you kind of a temporary reprieve from your sweating or your high heat situation, but it doesn't really last. This one is a bit different because it has that combination of rosemary, mint, and eucalyptus, all of which are very camphorous, similar to lavender, but even like lavandin, which is more heavily camphorous, and it tends to last a bit longer. So you get those citrus fruits, you get something behind them that can propel them forward, like those kind of zesty, spicy notes of rosemary, eucalyptus, and mint. And then along comes your bright woody cypress with a bit of nashi pear. And then you've got a combination of vetiver and ambroxan to round things out and give it that very modern appeal and that modern performance that we're all looking for. So that's why the reflective edition of Hugo Man in the Canteen-Style bottle is number 1, because not only is it extremely fresh, but it also has the performance that you're looking for in a kind of sporty, citrus, zesty fragrance. And right now, even though it's kind of a brand new release, it's been out for a couple of months now, you can get a tester of this on most websites for right around $35–40. And at that price point, it's definitely well worth it. Well guys, that's it for my top 5 Hugo Man Canteen-Style bottles for summer. If you got any of these and you've got experience with them, let me know what your thoughts are, kind of what your lineup is like, your top 5, your favorites of them. Thanks so much though for stopping by and checking out today's video. And as always, thank you so much for your support on my channel. I'm Tommy with Studio Sense, and I'll see you tomorrow.